Hey everybody, it's not Friday, it's Saturday, but we're gonna have our Optimism 101 today because I had technical difficulties yesterday with the microphone, the stand, the lighting and everything, so I couldn't do my usual lecture on time. And I did actually did it, but then the sound wasn't working and I was like, oh my god. Anyway, I didn't give up and I got a new lighting and stand today and the microphones are working finally. So here I am, and I just wanted to remind you that what we're going to be covering in these lectures of optimism throughout this series of lectures are how optimism relates to the relationships that we have with others, whether it's intimate relationships, family, friends, co-workers, and more importantly, the relationship with ourselves. So the first thing is the explaining how these dynamics of optimism and pessimism work. And so we know that optimism and pessimism are two separate things, and you could be optimistic and also pessimistic at the same time, not necessarily to the same degrees, but there could be a dynamic between being optimistic at some times and being pessimistic at others, and it could be that we move through phases of being optimistic and being pessimistic. And what will actually reinforce whether we're optimistic or pessimistic is the outcomes that we have on the situations that we face every day in our lives. So the more positive these outcomes are, the more optimistic we will be. The more negative, or if things don't go our way, we might become more pessimistic, and that relates to work, to relationships, to working out, to health and everything. So when we have just that relationship, the first relationship that we have with ourselves, how we treat our body, how we treat the situations that we find ourselves in, and the goals that we set for ourselves, whether it's physical health or financial stability or education or relationships, we are setting the goals and the expectations of the future based on what we trust and are confident that we're capable of doing. And so when we establish that sense of self-awareness and self-knowledge of what we can do and what we can't do, and what we can do with the help of others, we realize that there's a certain amount of things that we can do to get a good outcome, whether it's in a relationship, work, education, you name it. So basically, once we establish that knowledge that, okay, we're capable of doing this, and sometimes even we might not be aware of the things that we're capable of doing. And so it all starts with our self-knowledge and what we're capable of doing and the things that we couldn't imagine even that we would be able to do. And sometimes, there's a little bit of hindsight in, ourselves, that we might not see things that others do, and basically sometimes we might be scared or afraid of throwing ourselves into uncertainty, the uncertainty of the future, because honestly we know for sure we have this moment right here, right now, but we don't know necessarily how that moment will unfold in the future. And so what we do know is what we are capable of doing and what we're not capable of doing. And so when we have that certainty and we have that knowledge about ourselves, we can then relate to others, relate to other situations, and behave in a way that will actually either hinder us or motivate us to be successful, whether or not there are some obstacles in the way. So that's lesson number one. To be optimistic with ourselves or pessimistic of ourselves, we have to have a certain degree of self-knowledge and self-awareness of our limitations. We have to know our boundaries. We have to know what we can do, what we can't do, and what we can do or could do with the help of others.